I'm really happy today to introduce to everybody Rocky Payne, who is the owner of the Sheep Company. He manufactures the sheep suits product that we use on the farm to keep our wool clean and free of VM, vegetative matter. The product really is amazing. It's kept our fleeces clean. It adds value to the product. And, my hand spinner customers really love how clean our fleeces are. They're very durable and easy to put on and take off, and they keep our fleeces really clean. So good job. Thanks, Rocky. Nice to see you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they increase the value of your wool immeasurably to the point where most serious hand spinners these days, if it's not clean, they won't buy it. Period.
Yeah, right. We started using them after I had a pretty horrifying experience at Rhinebeck where I didn't have coated fleeces at the time, and I entered them in their contest, and I would say all but 2 of the fleeces, I entered 12, got set underneath the table labeled unacceptable for sale because they had so much chaff and stuff in them. So very soon after, we got in touch with you and said thank you.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the origin of your company?
Well, it started probably about 25 years ago. I had always covered my sheep. I started raising sheep in '86, I guess, and the folks who we purchased sheep from, or some sheep from, ended up being our mentors. The Steinbergs. They probably had the first colored sheep on the Front Range here in Colorado. And they were pretty much 90% Cordales, and so we ended the business and we ended up buying their flock. So they had always covered their sheep, so I continued that because she was a hand spinner and she was like, no, this is how you have to do it. And I was like, okay, no choice, I'm good. So as we went along, covers were not as durable as I would have liked, and I ended up making some of my own out of Sunbrella, which was UV protection but really bad durability. And then I ended up finding this nylon. I had been in the textile business. I was a production coordinator for a company called Sky Chairs. So I had some contacts in the textile industry and began to look around for a fabric that would work. And I just started with covering my Cordales, and that's where the 1000 denier came from, the heavy fabric. And that was the only fabric I had when I started out. So I just, made my design just like everybody else's, I mean, it's not rocket science. So they worked on my sheep, and I would go to shows, county fairs and state fairs and stuff. And people would ask me where I got my covers, and I said I made them. And they said, "Would you make some for me?" I said, "You bet."
Huh. So it was mostly about the durability you weren't happy with.
For me, yeah, because I mean the style of covers that I made were the ones that I had been using. There were Matilda covers, but they don't have a chest piece. They're just sewn together in the front with a hole left for the head, and the fit is less than desirable. So the chest piece was essential for how the thing fit. So it's not like I said, I'd used covers that were built like this, and so I built mine like that.
So you modified the patterns slightly to accommodate.
It pretty much the covers I've been buying from some other people out in California, some folks in Ramona, California. Their name slips my mind along with a lot of other stuff. So it was very similar to theirs. I just to it, and it has been improved over the years. I used to do repairs occasionally just so I could see what was breaking, and I would see the common thing. The first thing that went were the tucks on the side. I never liked elastic. I didn't think it worked well with wool, and it dies. My tucks in the side do the same thing. Pull the cover in around the body so it fits a little bit better. Same with the tucks in the rear, rather than have elastic on your wool so that it pinches the wool, and you can end up with a felt line right across the butt there
Yeah.
where the elastic is. So that's why I use the tucks, and they're the ones on the side were one of the first things to die. So that was when I started putting a piece of fabric over that. So now that doesn't happen. Then the next thing was the leg straps. They were coming undone. When I would repair them, you rarely saw one that the strap itself was broken. It was where they were sewn that they came undone. And sheep are hard on stuff. I mean, they lay in manure and urine all day. You know,
Right. Yep.
those are organic acids. That's why I use polyester thread. It resists them more so than say a nylon thread. But I mean, they're tough when they're out in the sun all day long. So they're hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a piece of webbing sewn over the ends of the leg straps, so they don't come undone anymore. And the chest is now triple stitched so that it's done. So they've gotten pretty bulletproof.
Well, I can say for sure, the only time I ever have any issues is more user error, where we'll have a little piece of wire sticking out from a fence or something and they scratch up against it.
Yep.
So, I mean,
They
what are you going to do about
They
that?
search for those things.
Huh?
They search for those things.
Yeah, exactly.
People think that sheep are dumb, but they're not.
They're very, very
There's
crafty.
not an animal on the earth that's better at being a sheep than a sheep.
So you mentioned that you were in the textile industry, but did you know how to sew prior to creating your own sheep coats?
No, because of what I did, I had folks that used to work for me who were seamstresses. I mean, Sky Chairs was a chair that hangs from the ceiling or a tree or something that you could buy at like Renaissance fairs, or they're really big there, So I had, folks that could sew for me, but I bought my own machine and just slowly taught myself to sew. And I sew probably, I don't know, maybe 15–20% of the covers. All the horned covers I sew. Mostly any alpaca covers I sew. So yeah, if I've got covers that that you want to size, and they're with Hal, the lady who helps me sew, I might just make 2 or 3 of them if I needed it to finish your order. I'm kind of the overflow guy. So
Got it. So do you have a sense for how many flocks out there are using your sheep suits?
my customer list is like about 1,500 names long, but they're not all active. Boy, a lot, and because they work, um, the word of mouth. It's like at least once or twice a week, I get a new customer that said, "Oh, I bought some sheep from so and so, and they said that you were the only one to get covers from."
Yep.
So that's how it's slowly growing, and I would say that probably the average size flock that I sell to is less than 10.
Is that right? Interesting.
Yeah, I would think so. There's a lot of folks out there with 3 or 4 sheep, that don't breed. They're not breeding.
Right. It's interesting because I would say every time I post on social media a photograph of my sheep with the coats on them, there's somebody asking me for your contact information, asking to get, hooked up with you and getting the coat.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's pretty much what it is these days. It's all word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
A lot of folks that are selling sheep are saying you can take the sheep home with the cover on it, but you got to give it back to me. You need to get your own.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what we've done a couple times is just sold the coats to the new owner.
There's a lot of folks that do that.
Gave them your contact info if they wanted to get additional sizes and stuff. So, and that worked out well as well.
Yeah.
So is there any place that you sent sheep coats to a farm in some remote location where you're like, I didn't even know sheep lived there?
No, not really. There's very few sheep through the south, you know. It's all mostly upper Midwest and out in the West, you know, all through New England and New York and down through there. But once it begins to, you know, get fairly south, I think I've got a couple of them in North Carolina, but that, south of that, you know, mostly you just don't see sheep. Um, but the most interesting story comes when this woman from Australia emailed me and we began to correspond, and she wanted to buy some sheep covers. And I was like, you know, your shipping's going to cost you more than the covers. And she was like, I don't care. This is what I want. And I was like, okay, you got them. So I shipped them down there, and she was just ecstatic with them. And we got to talking, and I mentioned something about just what I said, that my average customer probably less. And she was like, really? She was like amazed. And I was like, well, how many sheep do you have? And she said 32,000.
Oh my God. How many? Wow.
Yeah, I know. I told her, I said, well, you're not planning on covering all of those, are you? And she said, no, I've talked to my husband, and if this works out, we're only going to cover 1,000. So amazing.
Did she end up getting 1,000 coats from you then?
No, she's just got about half a dozen that she's trying to see whether she likes them. You know, who knows where that's going to go? I mean, the shipping is outrageous. You know,
Yeah,
so
I do.
I told her, I said, you need to start making your own down there.
Maybe you could start a franchise or something.
Yeah, there you go. It's the fabric. It's the fabric that's so hard to find. Nobody can find the fabric where I buy it straight from the factory.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about your product variants. I kind of browsed your website. So you've got a product for horned animals. You've got a product for llamas and alpacas. You got the 1,000 denier, and then you got a 400, I think, right? 400 denier?
Right. Yeah. Actually, it's a 420 at this point. But
420.
That's close enough. And that's the difference between coarser wool and finer wool. And the break is at about 60s in a spinning count, or about 22, 23, yep, 24 in a micron count.
Yeah, we use the 400 on our sheet.
Right. Yeah. And the wool, the handcrafted wool industry has really changed over the years. In the 25 years I've been doing this, when I first started with all I had was the 1,000D, and that worked just fine for everybody because everybody had so much coarse wool, Romneys and Cotswolds and Lincolns, and you know, sheep like that are it's great wool, but you just can't wear it. It's too coarse. So, but it has now so that I sell probably 65% of my covers are from the 400, which are all fine wools. And there's a lot of breeds out there that will be more than happy to tell you that, I'm sorry, you can't cover this wool because it'll felt. And it's like, don't tell me that, because I know different. I cover BFLs, Finns, all kinds of Merinos, Shetlands, you know, a lot of fine wools. And they, as you can testify, they work just perfectly fine, you know.
Yep, we never have any issues with felting or anything like that.
Right.
Never.
Your fleeces are just immaculately clean and in beautiful shape.
Rich was telling me that you've created a special line or a special design specifically for Shetland sheep. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. When I first designed my covers, they were designed for my Corriedales, which is a big sheep, and I liked big sheep, so my sheep were bigger than most Corriedales. So between the size 27 and the size 29, my lambs underwent a huge growth spurt. And normally there is a 2-inch increment between the girth and the length as it goes up in sizes. A 29 is 29 inches long, and then there's the girth. And then when you go to a 31, you add 2 inches to the length and 2 inches to the girth. So between the 27 and the 29, there was 5 inches of difference between the length and the girth, because that's what my lambs required. And after I started selling, some Shetland breeders that I met at Black Sheep Gathering had said, "Oh no, you can't cover Shetlands." And I said, "Yes, you can." And they said, "Well, let's try it." And they were ecstatic because it worked. So, but the problem was the neck hole was too large for such a diminutive sheep.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Shetland breeds, I went back to the 2-inch difference, so that the 29, the 31, the 33, and the 35, though if you get to a 35, I'm questioning what's in the back of the barn, because that shouldn't be a Shetland that big. But nonetheless, right. Those 4 sizes fit Shetlands better because the neck hole is smaller. I had shepherds telling me that they had sheep walking right out of the neck hole. And
Shetlands walking out of the neck hole.
That was when I suddenly went, wait. And I looked at the measurements and realized what had happened and what was going on. So consequently, there's 4 sizes that are specific for Shetlands. There's nothing on the website yet. I hope to do something in the near future, a page with that, and I could probably even have a separate order form. You know,
this is what Rich. If you can see this is what Rich created, and this is what we use as our guide. So it's easy for us to know, depending on what color, because there's little colored tags on your sheep suits, and then we just know what the next size is by using this chart here. But I think that those last 4 sizes, so those are the ones that you said you created just for the Shetlands, right?
Correct. The red, excuse me, yeah, the red, green, navy, and the silver.
The silver. So, okay.
Silver's at 35. That's a big, like I said, that's a big cover for a Shetland.
Right. Well, we don't have the 35 on our list here, so we probably never bought the 35s. So we've got 19s for with our lambs. I actually had a couple lambs in that blue, tiny little blue black coat that you make.
Now those are just fine for Shetlands.
Yeah.
Okay. All the sizes up to 29 are just regular sizes. From 29 to 35 is the special size for Shetlands, and that's why you have to tell me that you raise Shetlands so you can get that. But I'm trying to get that fixed on my website.
Okay, well that's really good information then, and I do have a lot of Shetland people that are watching this, so that's good. You got that information out there. I'll put something about that in the show notes also, so people will be able to see that are raising Shetland. Yeah. All right. So the last question I had was, do you have anybody that helps you with the business, or are you a one-man show there?
Other than the lady that helps me sew, no, I do. It's just me.
That's crazy. So you're taking orders, you're making the stuff, you're filling the orders, you're helping customers with email. I mean, you must be going 24/7.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I probably work, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 hours a week. It's kind of just depends on, what I feel like doing. I mean, if I feel like I want to carry a little more inventory, then I don't work so much, but if I run my inventory so that I'm always having to, kind of hump a little bit to fill orders and stuff like that, well, then I work a little bit more. So it's kind of a choice.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I had. This was really interesting, and enjoyed meeting you in person. We've ordered from you over the years, but this has been really fun to have a nice conversation with you. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, sure. It's always good to hook up a face with an order, and I just appreciate the exposure, because the covers work well, and they a lot of people think that there's a great deal of expense to start off with, and to a certain extent that's true, but the return on your investment is way more than any sort of, it's good.
Yeah.
So thanks.